SoulSpeak Living in Color, where we talk about inspirations, following your dreams, and what lights your fire. I'm your host, Sam Philyaw, Rainbow and Thunder voiceover. You can find me at samphilyawvo.com. Hello and welcome everybody back to SoulSpeak Living in Color. Today is episode 15 with Robert Harrower. He is from Canada and he does a whole bunch of some audio dramas. We do collabs together. It's super fun. He's actually the person that got me into doing fan dub revoice collabs. And I think our first one was the music number from The Swan Princess.
Yep,
which was
right.
a huge feat. He's a super cool voice talent, and if I ever get the chance to cast him, I totally will. You should too. Just saying. Cool little plug here. Anyway, welcome, Rob. How are you doing today?
I'm actually doing really well today. You know, I got a day off from my survival job, so I've just been relaxing today, and I did a few voiceover things and some TikTok things this morning, and then just been enjoying my afternoon, and now this, so it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. A nice little relaxing day. It's always good to take a day off from survival job and feel good about yourself.
How about you? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. We had my partner and I had a little date this morning and we did a few things, got him an interview.
Oh, excellent.
So things are looking up. And of course, I've got to do more voiceover stuff, but we'll do that a little bit later tonight.
Absolutely.
So
whenever you can.
Yeah, right. All right. So you guys, we're going to start off with his journey as always. So Rob, tell us about your voiceover journey so far.
My voiceover journey has it's been a very interesting one. I began very, very casually my voiceover journey in 2018, about the same time that I had decided from the ground up that I was going to make an audio drama. I decided, okay, well, you know, maybe I can try my hand at this as well. Now, I, of course, in my own journey, I went through all the pitfalls and so on, so things I would never do now, right? Like I'm gonna go out and buy stuff first, and instead of taking the time to actually learn and whatnot. But I yeah, I went right out, and I went to purchase a mic, and I went to try my hand at you know, using a closet. I was in a small room at that point in time, so I kind of had an armoire that I opened up, to stuck my mic right inside of it, and I started from there. You know, I found places like Casting Call Club and Twitter, and I just began my auditions there. Listening to those auditions now is an interesting interesting feeling. We're going back to those now, to saying, oh, that's what you sounded like way back then, right? And just the quality change of how how I've set up my booth, and the things that I've been learning in the years that I've been doing this. But I would say I really began seriously trying to pursue this as a viable career, I would say, really back in 2021. And that's when I finally made the decision that I'm going to just keep this as a casual thing. Am I going to actually try and put my hand in and see if I could make something of this? And so I did. I decided, you know, well, at the end, you know, what am I really going to lose if I try, right? And so that's sort of been where I've been going from there. I've taken a number of classes. I would still love to do a little bit more one-on-one learning with some coaches, which I haven't done yet. So that's the next thing on my list to do. And you know, I just continuously am auditioning, trying my hand, and you know, I'm a terrible cold. I hate talking on the phone, so I rarely ever cold call people, but I do email. I do word of mouth. So I will talk on the phone if someone calls me, right? If I get a phone call. That being said, I've never got one. So I just respond via
But you
email.
would if you got a call, you're right.
So I would talk to them, but I just respond via email if I need to. But so yeah, that's sort of I guess I kind of wormed my way. It was just sort of a happenstance side idea that okay, well, I'm making an audio drama, maybe I can do this too. Um, and I found it, I enjoyed it.
That's what it's all about, right? And you're doing what you can whenever you can to get there. I know that you just recently moved, right?
Yes,
And you
yeah.
got to better studio, so that's
I
cool.
did. It was a huge move. It was amazing. I moved downstairs from where I was before. So I was an apartment just a few of it's much smaller apartment, where I had taken part of a bedroom and kind of sectioned it off to make a booth. And I had to, because of the size of the bedroom, I had to bring it up and tear it down all the time, which was cumbersome and troublesome. So, we moved primarily, actually, I moved so that my daughters could have a bedroom. And, there was, being able to move down here also gave me the chance to actually physically section off an area that just sort of stays as my booth now. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Moving on up. I
Moved
like
up
it.
because I moved down to
Oh,
move up was
did you get
great.
right? Okay. Moving on down. So how long ago did you decide that you were gonna start doing audio dramas and then voice
Uh,
acting?
that's actually a very good question. So when I guess it was around 2015, 2016, I really started to get into to audio dramas, and actually, I I I came into the audio drama world as actually a result of the show Critical Role. I used to watch Critical Role. I haven't watched it a lot. I've got a lot to catch up on, and now it's just I'm so far behind. I'm like, oh, do I really want to keep going on it? But I used to listen to and I used to watch Critical Role all the time. And one of the individuals, and of course everybody in Critical Role is a voice actor, um, but Taliesin Jaffe used to do a show with one of the other individuals called Signal Boost, and in Signal Boost, they boosted a lot of really neat either what they thought was really cool, so comics and a lot of stuff from pop culture. And Taliesin Jaffe actually sort of pushed me in that episode to listen to an audio drama that he liked called The Black Tapes. And that was kind of the first audio drama, docudrama that I really listened to, and from there I began listening to other audio dramas and docudramas that I really really enjoyed. And I just I listened to everyone I could get my hands on, um, and actually, uh, as a result of that, I came across, because I'm a huge Star Trek fan, I came across two Star Trek audio dramas. Um,
And you're
and
like, yes,
I
that's
listened to
my
those, yeah.
jam, man.
Starship Excelsior, which is fantastic. I'm actually very good friends with the executive producer of that show, who's actually one of my cast members on my show, and very good friends with the people who create Outpost, a Star Trek fan production, who I some of the people who have been cast in that show are actually in my show too. And I listened to every single episode, and it was just amazing, really great. And at the end of listening to those, I kind of wanted more. So I said, okay, well, I've got to find other Star Trek audio dramas. And I went and listened to a number of them, and I couldn't find any that had that, what I really enjoyed about Starship Excelsior and Outpost. And so that's when I made the decision that, well, if I can't find one that I enjoy, if I can't find a story that I want to connect with, then I'm going to have to make it. And so from there, that's when I went to my very good friend Vince, who's the other executive producer, and he kind of stays by. He's not the face, right?
Right.
He prefers not to be the face of anything. He says, "Rob, that's your job." And that's when we started from the ground up, trying to learn how to do an audio drama, how to script write, because Vince was a prose writer. He wrote stories, but we had never written a script before, and learning the ins and outs of creating a business together to Sober Dwarves Productions, and so that's sort of where we started off there, and we decided, okay, well, we what do we want the audio drama to be, and that's when I said, well, I think it's got to be a Star Trek one because of how much we love Star Trek, and the rest is history. It took about a year from the time we started until we were ready to begin production. So in about 2019, that's when we began sort of production on our show. But that's sort of where I got into audio dramas,
That's awesome.
just listening to it and then making my own, and then realizing I actually really love this medium, and I it's great to me that that medium that was so big in like the 1920s, 30s, and even the 40s is now coming back, and it's so readily accessible, and in many cases free. Anybody can download a podcatcher and listen to so many amazing audio dramas right for free. So we wanted to be a part of that and create a story that people could connect to and enjoy, and that's why I love audio dramas. And I would love to just continue in that medium.
Why not? I mean, audio drama, it feels like really almost as much work as putting in for a film or for
It,
like a short film or something.
it definitely can be, especially when you've got a scene that you really want to make sound alive. So how, when you're putting it together, how do we make it sound as if you can visualize the scene and the layering of the different scenes? So it's never just stringing someone's audio together, which you of course you do have to do, but it's determining, okay, well, what sounds are always in the background playing, and then do we have music playing in the scene, and then the different sound effects that happen throughout the scene, um, footsteps, pain in the ass footsteps are, but when you have to put in footsteps and how many foot, so we do all of that when we create it, and it can take a good while to create a scene, from nothing. And then not only once we've created it, now we have to master that scene and make it sound like every other scene, and go from there. It's a bit of a work, but it is definitely a labor of love, considering I make, you know, nothing
It's
making
a
my show. So
non-profit.
right, I don't want CBS to get mad at me. So yeah, but it can definitely be a lot of work. Now, of course, I don't have the visual component, so I don't have to match things up half the time. I can just, it's a little bit more free flowing in that regard, that I can just sort of imagine the scene and go from my imagination, as opposed to, okay, well, what am I physically looking at here in the scene, and then having to match it from there. So that
Yeah.
component we don't have to worry about. But being able to make it sound, live and in the moment is is sometimes tough, especially when you really want to make a scene sound, you want to make it pop, but you don't want to have it so busy that, oh my goodness, where am I supposed to be listening? And
I can totally relate to that. When I made Dragon Elf, I forgot, like I had already rendered it and I was already in the process of putting the video on there and getting everything set up to publish. And I listened to it again and I noticed there were three sound effects
yep.
that I missed. Oh, and like
Absolutely.
two of them were footsteps.
Yep. And my, like, for me, when I'm putting a scene together, because I my DAW of choice is Reaper, and I do everything in it, right? I even create endless vigilance in Reaper. And one of the things about Reaper is sometimes it'll, if you're working on something, it'll tag everything. So if you try to just move some line back, it ends up cutting something off. So you've rendered the whole thing and you're listening to it, and then silence, and you're like, oh, you got to go back into that scene and fix it, um, and re-render it. So it can sometimes be a bit troubling, but it's a lot of fun to do, especially when you have this amazing scene that you've created that's so well layered, and it's really cool to be able to create. I made that, like, I made this,
Right?
right,
It wasn't there and you made it.
and
This
now
is
it
a very
is. It
similar conversation
exists.
to what I had with Michael just a few weeks ago.
You know, absolutely.
It's
It's
awesome.
it's such an amazing feeling to go look at the thing that I made that now exists,
All
right?
right.
And has got a life of its own, and
And other people enjoy it. And that I think
yeah,
that's one of the best feelings is having something that you are so proud of that you put out there and other people are also like, yeah, this is
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, we get and that's the best feeling in the world is when you get people that it's affected. A little while back, Vince and I received an email from an elderly lady who was bedstricken, and being able to listen to our show, was something that she really enjoyed, and so she not able to see very well either. So everything, if she wants to read a book, it's an audiobook all the time. So it was just nice to receive that email, from this woman to say that, hey, your show is something that makes me wanna keep enjoying it, and keep. So I thought that was
That's
really
so
great.
sweet.
It just makes you want to keep doing it when you get people who just it affects them on a personal level like that, and
Yeah,
you
and when they
know
take the time out of their day to
yeah,
actually tell you, the
we
creator,
love
that
what you
you're
do.
doing great. Yeah, that
it's
that is
it's
awesome.
it's so amazing and such a great feeling, and it makes you as as an artist and as a producer, it validates you to just want to keep going, to keep getting better at what you do, to keep getting better at your craft. And that's one of the things that just makes me want to keep going, is when I get those people that it affects them personally, because I think that's one of the things that, as a voiceover artist and as voice actors, we are representing the human condition, and we are showing that to people, and in many cases, of course, absolutely, and it's her voice that they hear, or it's an animation that they're seeing, but it's her voice. But it's being able to convey those emotions, and that quality of being a person to people, um, that is so fun, and so necessary, I think, to be able, it's when we lose sight of that fantasy, it's only a matter of time before reality follows. And so being able to um, play a part in bringing the human condition in a dramatic sense for people to listen to and engage with and enjoy and connect with is it's a great feeling.
I agree. So would you consider yourself an audio engineer of sorts? Maybe not to the professional level. I
uh,
consider you an audio engineer compared to me.
I guess I never use that term. I guess I suppose I mean, I do audio engineering, absolutely. I guess I would say on an amateur level. I mean, if somebody were to ask you, are you an audio engineer? I would say I'm an amateur. It's a term I've never actually used for myself, audio engier. A
Well, because that's
producer I
what you're doing.
use,
That's why I
but
asked.
I guess so, right? I guess it is so in a sense, yeah. I guess, yeah, but it's yeah, I don't, I mean, just because I've had the chance to really chat with some amazing audio engineers that have things that I was doing that I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that, or maybe I should be doing this, that I would never thought of
Mhm.
otherwise. But I guess that's the point in continuously learning, right? I'm
Yeah.
the,
Well, it's not
we
like you didn't go to school for
no.
audio engineering. A lot of them do. So it's not, you're not necessarily learning in the traditional sense, but you're learning by experience.
Exactly, right. And I got Reaper, and the reason it was funny, because the reason I got Reaper actually is because the guys at Outpost, a Star Trek fan production, that's what they used, and they found success with it. So I thought, well, I'll use it, that way they can throw me the chains that they use, that I might be. And I've just found out that it was a great program, and so many different videos that I could watch it, how to use it. And so that's sort of where I learned to do it, trial and error, and watching YouTube videos, and going from there. And I'm learning new things every day about it. But yeah, I guess amateur audio engineer.
Yeah. A
So,
producer, you
yeah, yeah.
direct the talent, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do
Producer, director, audio
yep.
engineer.
Yeah, we do direction of talent if it's something that they request. In
Hmm.
many cases, direction that sort of we do for a scene is being able to, okay, here's the scene. This is the scene you're in, and then sort of give the rundown. Okay, in this scene is supposed to be a very tense scene, so this character is very tense throughout, and so you want to make it sort of sound like that. That said, it's rare, or it has been rare for us to actually have a live directed session. We have done it, but usually for us, it's a sort of a, here's the scene. This is sort of what we want the scene to be. Here are the written directions for you as a voice actor. If you have any questions, let us know. And sometimes we get people even, hey, what about this? What about that? What if I said this? What if I go for it, right? We've written the scripts, but you're bringing the character to life. So if you think the character might say this instead, say that. Put that in your audio, right?
Right.
And go from there. But yeah, we do that, and of course, I guess I have to say, yeah, producer for sure, because I've produced a show, right? So
Isn't
you
that
know,
awesome?
it's great. It's
Because
great. I mean,
yeah, you do
I,
you do all of these things and you don't consider yourself
no,
to be in that position or have that
yeah,
type of title because it's something that you've created it for yourself.
yeah,
It's not like you were hired for that
no,
by somebody else. So it's just
absolutely.
strange to think about, I actually do that job just for
Yeah,
myself.
absolutely. It's in a world, especially in voiceover, where the competition is so tough all the time, and you could be one of hundreds of people that
Thousands.
are, oh yeah, that are auditioning for something. Now, of course, even if you are one of hundreds of thousands, you should still audition. Don't ever think, oh, there's 1,000 people on there, maybe I won't, because you may be that 1,001th person, and they go, yeah, that's what they're looking for. Um, so, you know, um, being able to do that, and to I lost my train of thought. Oh, strange. That rarely happens to me. But I mean, being able to audition, to continue audition, especially when it's so tough. Um, so being able to create your own opportunities becomes something that you can do as well, right? So
Right.
if you can create your own opportunities out there, and create your own show, and do things that you can put yourself out there, and make your presence known, I think that's a valid thing to be able to do as well. So
Yeah.
not just always relying on somebody else to sort of pull you in and go, ah, you're great. No, here's what I can do, and I did this all by myself, and so I
And
think
it's
I think
super valuable for a talent to be able to do that too. Like it's not for everybody,
no,
creating your own content, being um diligent with being on social media and putting out stuff that you resonate with. It's not for everybody, but if you can
no,
do it, that'll put you one step ahead of the
absolutely.
people who can't.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm very, very, very lucky, in the fact that, the show, and I continuously go back to all of our voice actors, the amazing cast that have lended their voice to our show, and I go to them all the time and just appreciate exactly what they're doing, because they're being able to do this pro bono for us to create this amazing show that they all want to see succeed. And that doesn't always happen, right? There are a lot of shows out there that, the moment somebody turns around and says, okay, well, this is kind of an unpaid gig, well, it kind of falters and fails. And you just got to keep going. You just got to keep working at that, especially if it's something that you want to see succeed. And you know I wanted to sort of see this show succeed. And when you create an audio drama, especially if it's a Star Trek audio drama, 90% of audio dramas in general, and specifically Star Trek ones, never make it past episode 2. So once you've made it past that, you're ahead of the game, and we're well on our way to making our ninth episode. And we have written all the way up to episode 17. So it's been a great journey for us creatively, but it's a sense of pride in being able to say, hey, again, we made this awesome thing, and you guys as the voice talent helped us do it, so a huge thank you to you.
So whenever you're finished with Endless Vigilance, are you planning on doing any other shows?
Yes. So actually, one of the things that Vince and I and one of our actual audio engineers, Isaac, we're coming up with is actually an original show. So we really want to be able to create something that is our own creation, that we can crowdfund for, and I can actually make a labor of love, actual labor. That way I can pay voice actors to do, because I don't want to continue just creating shows and going, hey guys, let's do this pro bono. I want to be able to show off amazing talent, and then be able to pay the individuals for their time, especially considering, as a working voice actor, that's something that I appreciate. Hey, is between pro bono work or paid work, you have to always prioritize that paid work. And
Yeah.
that's something I always tell my voice actors too, right? Hey, you're doing this for fun, right? And so prioritize that, and then get to us when you can, which is ultimately one of the reasons why it takes so long for us to put out an episode, because we do have to ensure that, hey guys, you're doing this for free, so we can't push it too much. um, do it when you can, and that's it. That said, of course, if a voice actor ever comes to us and says, hey, I'm going to get you these lines by Saturday, we do expect that, of course, if you've said Saturday, you should keep that, unless
Something,
something
emergency
happens.
happens.
And we totally get that. Emergency happen all the time. Things happen. We just always want to be kept in the loop. Hey, sorry guys, we
Right.
can't do it for XYZ. Hey, that's great. Let us know when you can, right? And so that way it prevents Vince and I from having to go chase down um, voice actors, because sometimes that does happen when it's unpaid work, right? And
Yeah.
so you got to go
Especially when it's
chase these
unpaid work.
people. That's it.
Awesome. So how, as far on the voice acting side, have you noticed a trend in what you tend to be booking most? Like what genre that you've kind of put yourself in, if
Yeah,
there is a genre?
absolutely. I mean, I guess I would say, of all of the genres that I book, I suppose more often than not, it's been sci-fi, science fiction that I've booked in, and specifically, um, in many cases, fatherly figures, which I suppose I just have that voice of
You
of
have the
say the
father voice.
the father figure voice, and so I book a lot of those. But yeah, I've booked a number of sci-fi gigs. Some of them have sadly not taken off. Some were taking off, and then fell through. Some of them I've just finished. The lines for the first season of one that'll be coming out relatively soon. But yeah, I would say on a whole, the genre that I book a lot more of in audio drama is science fiction. Science fiction. I'd love to do, well, other things too. Uh, Particularly horror. I'd love to do more horror genre. That would be a lot of fun for me to do,
You could be the
considering.
screaming girl in the background.
Well, I did do one. There was one horror audio drama that I did, called The Night Star Specters, and I was the very first person you hear in episode one. Is me, and I probably get killed. It's great. So it
That's
didn't last
awesome.
past scene one. It's fantastic. Um, but I would love to do other things too. More fantasy, more drama, slice of life. I'd love to do some slice of life. Maybe a rom-com would be fun.
So you
Um,
definitely want to stay within the character realm.
yes, definitely, absolutely, definitely. I have breached out of that for a little bit. In and around my hometown, I have done commercials for a few places. Most notably, I did commercials for the YMCA of Simcoe Muskoka, up here, but I haven't done any commercial work since, oh, I guess September 2021 was when I last did any actual commercial work. Again, I would absolutely do that if if it came my way. If it's something that I also do enjoy. I do being able to do enjoy being able to do that type of work too. I'd love to do more long form narration like audiobooks. Because I love listening to audiobooks. The only real um, drawback for me right now to that is the amount of time you have to throw in to an
Yeah.
audiobook in order to do it. And
It's kind of hard when you have a day job.
I exactly when I've got my survival job, and then I'm also a full-time dad, and so it's a little bit more difficult to be able to do that. But I would love the chance to just be able to pump out an audiobook. Would be a lot of fun, or
You could do the
do
short
something.
audiobooks.
That's I could, and those novellas as well would be a lot of fun for me to do, and so that's kind of something I would love to do as well, is more long form narration,
We're gonna manifest you
work.
some audiobook work.
Come on, there must be some author out there that wants a husky Canadian voice, right? Right?
Somewhere, yeah.
Maybe. Absolutely. So I would love to do that. There, I haven't. There different types of audio genres out there that I haven't really looked into, like voicing toys. Right? Could be an interesting, but I haven't really looked into that at all. But yeah, mostly just staying within the character role
Character
playing
round, yeah.
characters, and then yeah, maybe reaching into audiobooks would be a lot of fun for me. Long form narration.
Heck yeah. So now the goal is to get a little work from home job so that you can just go back and forth during the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. I work I mean, I'm a 3 minute drive to my work, so I always come home on my lunch hour. So it wouldn't be very difficult for me to just come home and in my lunch hour do some do some do some work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that would be great. That'd be something I would love to do, and that's definitely one of the goals. And considering that a lot of the people I follow on social media and on TikTok, they are audio book narrators, long form narrators, and it just seems like a fun thing to be able to take a book and just being able to bring that book to life to people. Considering I listen to audiobooks all the time, and I've just got my subscription to Audible back, so right.
Audiobooks, I love. I've done one audiobook and I don't think it ever got like published. I can't find it on the internet. But I I don't even know. Uh, but like, so I would love to do audiobooks, but they pay so little, and I don't
Yeah.
understand why it's the least paid when it requires the most talent
Yep.
and effort.
And you're absolutely right. One of the things, whenever I turn to somebody and say, okay, well, how much would it pay to do an audiobook? Well, you could get $250 per finished hour, but that's when you think of the amount of hours that go into just 1 hour, one finished hour, you may be recording for 5 6 hours. Well, that ends up being what, $30 an hour,
Yeah,
right? And when you think about that, well, that's is really and I mean, unless you're Anthony Hopkins, then you can charge whatever you want, right?
right.
But the amount of work that just goes into it, and it's in many cases when you are recording and mastering an audiobook, it's really all on the voice actor to do, right? You've got to do all your own narration, you've got to do all of your own editing, you've got to make sure that it is up to specs for ACX, and then once that's done, then the person who's written the book, then they get to listen to it and go, okay, do I like it or not? Then you may have to go back, right? So the amount of work that goes into it. You're absolutely right. It's a massive amount of work, and that's again one of the reasons why I just don't have the time to do that
And
right
I
now.
mean, honestly, you'd be lucky to get 250 per edited hour, because
Oh yeah,
a lot of like if you're, let's say you're within 3 years of starting out, most people don't get many jobs that are above 200
no,
per finished hour.
Nope.
I mean, I can't even remember how much mine was, but I've seen a lot of casting calls for audiobooks that are
Yep.
we'll pay you like $600 for this uh 8 hour book,
Yep.
$800
Absolutely.
for this 11-hour book. And like, do y'all know how much
Yep.
work goes into that? Okay, plus I gotta do all the male voices. Do you know
Yep.
how high my voice is?
Everyone, and they all got to be different, and you got to absolutely, and not only that, the amount of time, and again, like this is just when you finally get into the booth, like you have to read the book first, right? So you've got to read the book, you've got to annotate it, and these are things that you're not getting paid to do, and so you're really only getting paid once you finally get into the booth to actually begin
God, and let's
doing
hope that
it,
the book is well
right?
written and you don't have to actually change any of the
Yeah.
grammar.
Absolutely, and even that, and it's, let's say, of course, you're working for a royalty share. Well, now you're only getting paid every single time that book gets downloaded and bought. Well, all of that work, how, and if the book only gets 2 downloads, well,
Well,
oh,
that was
oh
a free book
dear,
that you just did.
oh, yeah, you just did a free book, right? Oh, great, I get how much?
I get
So
exposure.
exactly. I get it, and it's one of those things that you hate to throw around, and exposure, and then of course I think of my show, and I'm like, well, I guess that's exactly what I'm doing for my cast, but again, that's something that I set out right from the onset. Hey, it's pro bono work. Feel don't want to do it, I'm not
Yeah.
going to force you,
Yeah,
right?
there's a difference between being entirely upfront and being like a maybe you'll get paid, maybe
And I
you
think
won't.
you have to be especially in this field where, at the best of times, this field is toxic, and then at the worst of times, it's absolutely abusive. So you have to absolutely be upfront with people and honest with them. Hey guys, this is our show. This is what we're doing. If this is something you're interested in, great. Otherwise, that's okay. But I think you have to be. You've got to be completely honest. You've got to be upfront. I mean, it's
I don't
something I
work
would
with people who
appreciate.
are not entirely honest, so like
Absolutely. I don't yeah, I don't get, I I don't get why people aren't that way, and we voice actors, and we get so abused, and we get so thrown to the wayside, and but our medium is just as valid as any other type of acting, and
it's
you know
incredibly important.
absolutely, and in many cases more abundant, right? There are so many more opportunities to just be able to use your voice for something as opposed to physically act in something that you see, right? And so many different genres, and different ways you could be making a living as a voiceover artist. So to invalidate and to abuse voice, I don't get it. I don't, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, we just don't associate with people who like to abuse us, right?
That's exactly right. You walk away from those people, and that's
Exactly.
one of
It
the
is,
things that you can
and
always do.
I want to emphasize that it is okay to walk away.
Yes,
If the job is not for you, if the person hiring is not for you, just walk away and there,
100%.
it's a whole cycle. It will come back, something will come back to you.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the greatest pieces of advice I think we can always give to anybody who is getting into this field, is that you are allowed to respectfully decline anything, or respectfully walk away from anything if it's something that is no longer working out for you. You're just getting taken advantage of. You think, okay, well, maybe this is a little shady.
Yeah,
You are allowed to say no, and know that that's okay to do. So,
love it. So let's go to some goals and a dream role.
oh, okay. Um, I mean, definitely one of my goals is representation. I'd love to actually be represented by someone I'm not currently. I'm a momo, and it's just me. So it would be lovely to be able to have representation. A lofty goal for me. I would love to be able to be a household name in audio dramas. When people think of audio dramas, they think Rob Harrower, Robert J. Harrower, right? I would love to be able to get to that point where I can just be a name people know when they think of this medium, and continuously working toward that. Um, oh, a dream role. Hmm. You know, I guess I got to say it. I'd love to be on Lower Decks. I love it. It would be just would be amazing. And it doesn't matter. Be any character. I don't care. Just give me Ferengi A, and I will be that. But I
You'd
would
be the
love.
best damn Frankie A there ever
Oh,
was.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, so many. Lower Decks has brought so many things into canon that weren't into canon before in Star Trek, like, you know, the individual who actually um, did the painting for the USS Titan, which was just on books that weren't canon, and then that was actually brought, and you physically saw it on screen, and the fellow who said it's been 16 years, and now that thing is canon. So to be able to make some of my characters in EV canon would just be, I would be amazing. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but yeah,
It
I
could,
would. I mean, it's possible, I suppose.
could.
It's possible, I
And if
suppose.
it doesn't, you can always create it for yourself, right?
And that's exactly right. But I'd love to be on Lower Decks. That would be so much fun, to just be a character on Lower Decks. It'd be
That would
amazing.
be awesome. 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 So, how about some hobbies?
I'm a huge board gamer. I love board games. I love role playing games. So a lot of my free time is spent doing those. Most of the board games now I'm just playing with my partner. But I do have a role playing group that I enjoy to play with. We just play once a month right now. Right now we're doing Pathfinder, but we are going to be moving toward doing Call of Cthulhu because I am a huge fan of
Yeah.
H.P. Lovecraft and the Cthulhu mythos. Um, so those are a couple of hobbies that I have. I'm I would say I there was a point in time where I was a huge avid reader, but because I'm so on the go, listening to audiobooks is a hobby. I'm doing that as I'm driving back and forth
Yeah.
to places. I enjoy hiking, but I'm not a huge fan of the cold, which is funny because I live in Canada. So when it's cold outside, I go, "Do I really want to go for a walk today?" And I tend to just stay inside. Um,
I don't blame you. I would
but
not survive in Canada.
absolutely. I mean, hey, I have to admit, it's actually been a relatively mild winter up here right now, but
I become an
um,
icicle in
just
60-degree weather.
stay inside and whatnot. But yeah, I'm a huge board gamer, huge role player. I've been doing that since I was 11 years old. I can remember uh, getting very first. I call it a role playing game, but it was a board game at that point. Hero Quest, which they've just redone over the last year. They've put out an updated version of that, you can buy.
I feel like I've heard of Hero Quest before.
Oh yeah, it was
I want to say that I've played it.
great board. I mean, I don't know if it was a great board game, but it was one that got me into gaming, and then I went from there to Warhammer Quest, which 1995 Warhammer Quest doesn't exist, but there's a huge cult following of that online, especially on Facebook. Other people that make their own tiles and whatnot, and I'm lucky I still have my copy. And then from there, I began playing different types of role playing games. So I played GURPS, I've played Hero System, Dungeons and Dragons, um, Call of Cthulhu, obviously, which is my favorite.
Mhm.
And so, but these days I mostly I'm doing Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu, and that's kind of it.
Do you like card or dice war?
Um, I love dice. I love how like rolling tons of dice is so much fun, and I know it's being able to see that's just a great feeling when you roll that 20. It's fantastic, natural 20, which is fantastic. But of course, there are games that I play where you have to roll the opposite. Where one would be best. I have a very good friend of mine who is actually also in EV. And he almost consistently rolls low on when we play. So when he gets the chance to play those RPGs that are what we call 2d20 RPGs, where you want to roll lower, he crits all the time because he's I'm rolling the two, I'm rolling these are the games for me, right?
Those are awesome.
Dice are so cool. Love dice. Love
Have I showed you my partner's board game collection?
No, but I would love to
I
see it.
I feel like I should because he is a big board game geek.
Absolutely. And I guess I guess I also back board games too, right? And so when I find a board game I like, I kind of back. I've backed about three, and just received
On the Kickstarter?
yes, and just
Yeah.
received one. I backed the Wolfenstein board game, which is a board game version of the first person shooter that came out when I was a wee lad. And it took about 2 years for me to get, but it was very worth it. That being said, whenever I get a board game, I get so spoiled by the fact that I get uh, the only thing I have to punch out are like the chits and things like that. So I get these amazing little miniatures. And when I got Wolfenstein, I had to put all the miniatures together myself, and it took days. And I'm watching TV, and my partner's just beside me. You're doing that again. I'm like, yeah, putting all in the
I
again.
remember when Eric got Shadows in Brimstone or Shadows of Brimstone, something like that. Um, they did the same thing and they had you put the minis together yourself, and he was like, "This is gonna be so much fun." The next day,
It's
he's
not
like,
fun.
"I hate this."
Absolutely. That I mean, but once you've got them all together and you're able to play, it's a lot of fun. And some of
Yeah.
the miniatures look really really great. It's there's actually one board game that I got. I think it was last year sometime. And I legitimately have no clue where this board game came from. So, I got this massive package in the mail, and I'm like, this huge box, this is great. And I actually thought it was Wolfenstein at that point in time. So I opened it up, and this board game, Stars of Ikarios. I have no clue where this game came from, and it's actually a really great. I guess it's a campaign, so it's halfway between a role playing campaign game, but it's also a space battle game as well, where you're moving ships on a board in order to have this tactical battle game. But it's also a dice rolling game, um, so it's actually it's a really really fun game. I guess the best way I can explain the storyline is it's kind of halfway between spaceship space battleship Yamato meets Battlestar Galactica kind of storyline. But I legitimately have no clue where this came from. I got the game. I actually went back in Kickstarter. I went back in my bank accounts. I went back in all my credit cards. I can't find where I backed this game. But it had my name on it. I have no like this was a mystery game that just came to me, and I was a big surprise. But I mean I must have backed it
I
somewhere.
mean, you had to, unless
I
maybe
had to
somebody sent it to
have,
you.
right? But I can't find it, so I'm just like, was it gift? Was it a gift? Was this? And of course, everybody turns to me and says, "Well, maybe there's another Rob Harrower." Yeah, but there's no other Rob Harrower that lives at this address.
He does
So,
that all the time. I can't count how many games that he has kickstarted, especially um back when we were living in our smaller house in Huntsville. God, I want to say it was at least like 10 games that he did within a year, maybe two. And so he's still getting these games.
oh yeah, it's great, and some of the games are a lot of fun because especially when they have characters in them, you can have some fun with those characters. So actually, right now, one of the things I'm doing on TikTok is I am taking characters that traditionally don't have voice actors and I'm running a series where I give these characters voices. So I'm actually taking
Hell yeah, that's a great idea.
yeah, it's so much fun. So I'm taking the characters from the Arkham Horror series that traditionally are you know they're silent, they don't have characters, and I'm giving them voices, and I'm also creating some voiceover challenges for people to do it too and have some fun doing that too. So characters that I may go, okay, I may not be able to voice this character well, but I wonder if somebody else may be able to have fun with this character, right? I thought I did very well as Dexter Drake, but I don't think I'd make a great Carolyn Fern. I mean, I could try, but you know.
No harm in trying, right?
So it's a lot of fun for
We're
me
all
to do
about
as well.
we're all about
I
different
guess that's kind of a
genders.
hobby now as well. It's TikTok's a hobby, right? And
It pretty much
right,
is at this point.
right, absolutely. It's just me, and that's how I met so many amazing voiceover artists in this amazing community that we have created. That I just met them on this silly app that I
Including
just
me.
that yes, yeah, that's right. You know, yeah. In fact, I still remember I think the very first message was, "Hey, I've heard that how
Yeah,
and I
you
think
do collabs. I want to do
I
that
want to do them. I want to do them, right?
too.
Absolutely, right? And I'm always about doing collabs, and there's so much fun and such great practice. And I really have never seen the harm in being able to do that, especially when you make it very apparent that, hey, we're doing this for fun, we're doing this for practice. No, we're not the original voice actors. We're not claiming we are. This is a revoice. We're just having fun and saying, hey, if these people never had a voice actor, how would we do it? How would we do it? And that's sort of always what I sort of bring to those characters, is I pretend the voice actors never existed, and I go, okay, if I am now the only person that was ever going to voice this character, how would I do it regardless of how somebody else did it?
I
And
like to
that way you
use
can
it
have
as
freedom.
like almost like impression work. So the
Yes.
way that I create my characters or the way that I create new characters is I listen to other characters even when I'm singing, like I'll try to sing
Yeah.
in the same tone and placement as that character. And of course, it's not going to sound, I'm not a sound alike, but it comes out my own voice in a new sound that I wouldn't have necessarily found if had
Yep.
I not tried that placement and that tone. And that's
Absolutely.
that's what I love about trying to not necessarily copy other people, but mimic what they're doing because that helps me figure out what I want to do.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the skills that I need to work on as well, is impressions. And because I am a terrible impressionist. I'm just
Right? Me too. I
awful.
can't sound like hardly any, but maybe, okay, I sound
Right.
like Rapunzel. I can definitely do her voice and be a sound alike, but that's about it.
I mean, I can do Shaggy.
Do it. Oh my God. Do it.
The one, Mr. Bombastic, Sammy Fantastic, Mr. Romantic. I can do that. It's a strange thing for me to. Right, Mickey Mouse, nah, I can't do him. Goofy, nah, I can't do him. Shaggy, oh yeah, I got that one. Can do Shaggy, right?
And that's so funny because I was totally expecting Scooby Doo Shaggy. And I was
I
like,
can't
oh my
even do
God, are you
that
doing the
Shaggy,
rapper Shaggy?
right? I can't even. Yeah, the rapper Shaggy. Yeah. Can't even do that Shaggy. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That being said, I mean, oh man, Casey Kasem, such a great voice actor he was. Casey Kasem, I loved everything he did, including I used to listen to Casey Kasem when he did the top 40. Because it was syndicated in like every radio station growing up, and I used to listen to Casey Kasem all the time, and thought I want to be like him, and then realized, oh, I can't do any of the voices he does, right? And that's okay, right? I don't have to, right? I don't, we don't have to be like any other voice actor in the world, right? And those
I feel like you could do a
inspirations,
pretty
right?
good Ed, Ed, and Eddie, though,
Oh,
if you tried.
I don't even know how he sounds.
Well, you'll have to do it on YouTube.
I'll have
Look it
to
up on
listen.
YouTube because I feel like you could hit that.
I'll have to listen. I have to listen and go. But yeah, that's a skill I'm not very good at, is impression. And I getting and singing was not a skill that I was very good at as well. But I'm getting better at. So that's actually funny. That's actually one of the goals for this year. Actually, is to actually get a singing coach. And
Me too.
I know so many of them, right? Because I came from the stage. That's actually where I started acting, was on the stage, and so particularly in musicals, and um, I used to have to sing, but I was always in the ensemble, right? I never had solos or anything like that, so I had to be just good enough
Right.
to, right, to be able to sing with everybody. But I don't want to just be good enough anymore. I actually want to develop that skill and develop my voice to be able to sing the way my pipes can, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to sing like you know Alan Frew from Glass Tiger, but I can sing like
We're
Rob
gonna be
Harrower was
singing on
supposed
a
to.
Disney movie together, you and I.
That
Me, you,
would
and
be
Jake.
so cool. Oh, Jake's so great. He is
Love
so
Jake. I
awesome.
love his voice. I am so in love with Jake's voice. He has
Me
the
too.
perfect Prince Charming voice.
100%. He, cast him as he is so good, and he can always see his pitch perfect when he sings. I just think he's so awesome.
We're huge
He's so good.
Jake. I'm
Jake,
obsessed. Just say.
Jake, you're amazing. You're amazing. Don't forget us when you're famous, please. But yeah, that's something I want to work at. And I get, I guess if I were to say what's the range that I have, it's very similar to Kelsey Grammer. But if somebody were to compare me to Kelsey Grammer, that's amazing. He was on Star Trek.
Dude, do you know how many comments you got? Okay, so just for everybody watching, I gotta say this. Um, it was Jake McCaskill, by the way, who we're talking about.
Yeah.
We three did two revoice fan dubs of Anastasia. One was the Learn to Do It song and the scene right before that.
Yes.
And my God, these two are so amazing. Like you did such a perfect Vladimir character. Like
Tiny
it's
little
like
morsel.
you and Jake got the most freaking compliments, and they were like, "Oh, the girl is good, but these guys are just so much better." I'm like, "Oh, that's great."
No, I just thought. I mean, you did great, Sam. I thought it was just an amazing. I mean, you not only sang amazing, you put the thing together, both of them together in such an amazing. It was so
I did.
seamless,
I was so proud
and
of that.
it's definitely one of my favorite collabs that I've ever done, and it was so much fun. I had to, I think for me, oh man, the collabs that I've done I mean, the My Little Pony collab was so much
Yeah, that
fun.
was pretty good.
That
That was
was
fun.
really fun to do, right? Oh man, I didn't. There was one collab I managed to do with John Vasquez, where we did a scene from Tada Never Falls in Love, and I loved that scene, in which Tada has now been to see the love of his life, who he now realizes is a princess, and oh well, if you're a princess, that's it. No hope for me whatsoever. And he's now in the country where the love of his life is supposed to rule,
Mhm.
and I'm forgetting her name at this point. It's terrible. I watched that anime and I was like, oh, I can't remember her name. And he he basically his friend is like, well, you got to go, and he's like, why? And his friend just berates him, just lambastes him up one side, down the other. And John did such an amazing job with that, and I was like, he's like, you sounded great, Rob. Really? I just read lines, like John did amazing. So that was a lot of fun, to do as well. But I think, oh man, of all the collabs I'm really most proud of, I think, yeah, I think the Anastasia ones have got to be up top there. I'm
You
really proud of
nailed
those.
it. Look, if y'all do anything after watching this is you need to go on TikTok and watch those collabs either on
I will
either
do.
one of our channels, which you'll get at
Yep.
the end of this.
Yep.
Um, it's so good. It's so
Ab-
good.
absolutely.
I
I
cried when I
I
finished producing it, putting it together. I cried because I was like,
oh
"Oh
yeah.
my god, this is my dream come true."
And
To be
then oh yeah.
Anastasia.
And then go watch the Roadtail Dorado because we did that one too.
Oh yes,
That was
yes.
really great. I really enjoyed that one as well. That's really
Such
good.
awesome times. I love collabs.
Oh, they're
Ah,
so much fun. It's such a great because I guess it really gives great practice. It allows us to be creative. It allows us to put ourselves out there. Hey, we can do this stuff too, right? And we're
mm-hmm.
just as valid as you
As
know
celebrities.
as celebrities that are out there, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Tara Strong, absolutely amazing, but I think we're just as valid.
But she
Right?
started out as one of us too.
Yeah, she absolutely did,
And
and her journey is
she made her
so
way there. That's all
amazing.
we're trying to
Yep.
do.
I loved her journey. It just was so amazing. And it's the same with other amazing voice actors out there. Tara Strong, America Young, right? These awesome voice actors who, yeah, just they slogged it just like we're doing and
Yeah.
showed their mettle, showed what they're worth. And I think we just have to keep showing what we're worth because we can do it too, right? We can do it too.
I think it's gonna be awesome to
Mhm.
see what the future holds.
Always.
All
I'm
right.
looking forward to it.
So let's start wrapping things up. It's been about an hour, so we want to try and not keep everybody here. So what is some advice that you would give for people wanting to create their own audio dramas or just their own content in general?
Um, One of the things I would definitely never be afraid to try. Never be afraid of how daunting it can be, because you can create some amazing things out of strife, out of learning, and never be afraid to learn. There is so much out there to grab a hold of and to use and to just sink your teeth into, that just take it one step at a time. If you're wanting to create an audio drama with with a premise of um, some fiction, all you need is an idea, and then start from there, right? And then just try to learn as much as you can, right? Spend as much time as you can learning, how to script write, learning how to um, audio
Produce.
edit, and learning how to produce, exactly, right? And there's so many um, free resources out there that you can get to just by googling, right? I mean, hey, the you type in how to use Reaper right in YouTube, and you're going to find Kenny Joya's stuff. And he has been a fantastic, well, you just watch him and it's all for free. Like, he teaches you all for free on here. And but yeah, no, don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail. And I think that's one of the things that always prevents people from doing anything, is that we think we're going to fail and we're not going to make it. And you have to let yourself be okay with failing, because failing is really nothing more than a hiccup in the road. Because what we call failure isn't really failure, because the only true way to fail is to do nothing.
That's right. Just because something doesn't work out the way that you wanted it to doesn't mean that
Yep,
another thing won't.
absolutely. Keep going. Keep having fun.
Failure is really just a learning experience.
Yeah.
And that's
And
why it's not a failure.
that's right. And never be afraid to ask questions. Never be afraid to think that any question you have is silly, right? When I was creating my audio, I had tons of questions for James. I had tons of questions for Tony over at Outpost and Starship Excelsior, and they were so kind, being able to answer every single question. So we as creators want to see other creators succeed. And so never be afraid to ask and come to us, because we're always willing to help, always willing to lend the knowledge that we have, that allowed us to create the shows that we have. And maybe, and being able to do so, it'll see somebody from making the pitfalls that all of us have gone through, in being able to create our shows. But yeah, just
Yep.
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because you can create some amazing stuff.
A lot of us in the audio industry, especially voice actors, I found this community is so amazing. We don't want to see the people coming after us struggle in the ways that we did. We want people to succeed. We want to be a part of that journey. And something that I heard last night in a class on filmmaking was this woman was talking about raising money for films, and how, if you like, there was this person that she's working with that didn't want to ask one of their previous investors, someone who's invested on their films for a few years, a few other projects ago. They didn't want to ask because they didn't want to be a bother. They didn't want to be a nuisance. So they asked other people, and she had to stop and say, so how do you think they're going to feel if that movie succeeds and is big and out there and it's awesome, and you didn't ask them to be a part of it?
Absolutely.
To invest.
Absolutely.
And I take that into account for everything. So
100%. 100%.
Right? If you make
Absolutely.
friends with somebody and you don't ask them, like, and they're in the same industry, and you don't ask them, for advice on something or questions that they could answer.
Yep. Yep. I mean, we always have to come in. I mean, we're all adults doing this, and we have to come at it in that way, right? And it's, you know, um, being able to ask somebody a question. I mean, ultimately, what's the worst they're going to tell you? A no, or sorry, I don't have time. That's a valid answer. And if that is what they say to you, at the very least, you ask the question,
Yeah.
right? You went to them, right?
It's just
And
not the time.
yeah, and that's okay, right? It's, you in as much as you are responsible for your own actions, being able to do things, you can't be responsible for somebody else, but you can always ask that question. And I think never being afraid to, at the very least, ask the question, um because even if the answer is not necessarily in your favor, you still asked it.
I agree. Awesome. I love it. So this has been fantastic. Let's wrap up with socials and then we'll hop off here. So where so let's name off your website, any social media that you're active on,
Yep.
so that people can go and follow you.
No problem. So most of the time, people can actually, if you want to go to my website, I have a link tree. So linktr.ee at the Audible Gentleman. You can find me there. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's at Rob J. Harrower. If you want to find me on TikTok, it's also at Rob J. Harrower. And then on Twitter, which I'm least active on, is at Robert_Harrower. And anybody can find me there. I'm most active on TikTok. And of course, I am active on Discord as well. So if anybody does want to find me on Discord too, it's Robert J.Harrower number 7383, and you can find me there as well. And yeah, just come and say hi, add me.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for new friends, especially if you're looking to get into voiceover. Ask questions, because while we may not have been in the field for 20 years, we've been in for a
Our
little bit of it. So I
experiences
think
are
we can
valid.
spend.
And
Absolutely.
sometimes, I like the advice of people who have been in
Yep.
it just slightly longer than me, because
Absolutely.
they are in it, right? They're not already,
Yes.
financially stable 15 to 20 to 30 years in the industry. while their information is incredibly valuable, people who've been in this for 6 years, maybe 3 years, 4 years are also very valuable because
Absolutely.
they have grinded it out through the pandemic, and they've been making a name for themselves through the new technology, a new modern era of becoming a voice actor.
Absolutely. Being able to have those conversations with peers, so important. And I think we can learn so much from each other. Um, and we should, again, should also never be invalidated as well. Be able to create that community of people that you can just learn from together.
And we're
It's
also
important.
isolated every day anyway. I mean, personally,
Yeah.
I'm cool with being isolated. I'm a very, very introverted person. But it's cool. It's good to have peers. It's good to have friends. And
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
just I like that everybody that I've spoken to in the industry has been so kind and
Yes.
supportive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope we continue to support each other, and I hope that we continue on our own journeys to be supportive of anybody else coming in, because I certainly have felt very supported. I feel very supported in what I do. Um, so yeah,
That's the goal. And
absolutely.
everybody, you can find me, of course, at www.samphilyaw.com. And of course, if you don't know how to spell my last name, you can always look in the description. Um, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at samphilyaw.vo, and LinkedIn, Samantha Philyaw, and TikTok at a fun-sized adventure, because I am fun-sized and I'm adventure. So